I think the chairman asked a very important question about rebates, and I think it goes exactly to the point of the problem. You know, we have rising healthcare prices in medical costs. We also have rising in drug costs. And what is the common theme between the two is that the prices aren't transparent and that the consumer is disconnected from the price and from the product. You have an intermediary, insurance, your employer, all these other things. Someone else is making the decision. So almost no one in our country goes to the doctor and bases their decision on price. Because for Medicare, we all have the same price. And so there really is no capitalism or competition in healthcare primarily. 97% of healthcare has somebody in between you and the price. Occasionally someone has an HSA and pays, and that's the only true marketplace that you have, is 3% of healthcare. Same problem exists with drugs. So when we talk about getting rid of rebates so we can make the price transparent to make competition work, we got to go back even farther and say, why did we get to the rebate system? And there was apparently a court case in '96 that disallowed discounts. Discounts for big purchasers are a part of competition and capitalism. So if Walmart buys a drug and they buy a gazillion of it, they get it at a cheaper price than I do if I buy one lot of it. Court case apparently made that illegal, so then the drug companies came back over time and reinstituted discounting through rebating. But it's so complicated, nobody understands it. The drug companies, the only people have the data, and then you have 3 pharmacy benefit managers connected to the people selling you the drugs, now wanting to be connected to one of the biggest healthcare providers. So it's a terrible system, and it's never going to work, but the only way you'd ever make it work is people have to know the price. So we could mandate transparency or mandate getting rid of rebates, which is one way of doing it, or maybe we ought to go back to the very beginning and look at this court case. Is there a way we can go back to transparent discounting? Because we should allow discounting, but the system's a terrible system, and nobody makes their decision based on cost. And then, as Senator Collins pointed out, you're not even allowed to tell somebody. They have a gag order on people. Mr. Augustine, when we look at all your recommendations, is there one that you think or your members thought had more economic impact if we were to do one thing that was the most important of the recommendations?
The recommendations we made were really a package that were intended to balance the treatment of various problems in the issue. But to try to answer your question, I think it would be fair to say that the issue you raised, namely let's get competition back into this market. And we have seen in the case where generics enter the marketplace that typically within a year the price will drop about in half. And sometimes, of course, much more. We've also seen that within about 10 years, the price will drop by a factor of 5 from what it was when it was a branded product. So introducing competition to the marketplace would be probably the most useful thing we could do.
One of the things you mentioned was buying out the competition, preventing generics from coming forward. And if we had a purely free market and capitalism, buying out your competition should be legal. However, many of these companies make half of their profits off of government. So even I, who believe in an open and free marketplace, if you're contracting with Medicare and Medicaid, maybe we could have a rule that says if you want to make money off of Medicare and Medicaid, you have to agree not to have a gag rule. You have to agree not to buy out the generics. And we could make rules. And if you don't participate in Medicare or Medicaid, you can still buy out your competition. But all these people want the government money and the taxpayer money. Maybe we could have some rules on these things. And I think the evergreening is a big thing. And I think we ought to be able to come to a bipartisan agreement where we just say patents end. You tweak your drug, and if you want your monopoly, maybe you should have to provide samples. Because you're getting a government monopoly for a certain period of time, maybe you should have to provide samples. And then maybe when we look at the evergreening problem, we simply say, your patent lasts X long. If you want to tweak your thing, you can have a new patent, but your old drug becomes generic. That's the mistake, is we keep the old drug in the patent system. We don't allow it to become generic. The EpiPen is a great example of this. But I think there is a possibility we could get to bipartisan agreement on some of this stuff, particularly when they're using government money. I think there could be some more rules on the people that are consuming a lot of government money. But we got to somehow get to a price transparency, and you can try mandating it, or we could try figuring out maybe legalizing the ability to have, HSAs and things like that would expand a market where people actually make a decision on their money. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Paul. Senator Casey.